For no visible reason, the Lyrian column came to a halt. Meve stood in her stirrups in a bid to see the cause. Something had blocked the way, it seemed. Something large. A tree felled by a storm, or an abandoned wagon, the Queen thought. Neither was true. A boulder huge as a barn lay in their path. Footmen had slung ropes around it, planted their feet, and now sought to pull it aside. It did not budge an inch.
Perhaps I could assist you.
Meve turned in her saddle on hearing the voice. Several travellers in faded robes warily crept from the trees. A young woman with long, light-coloured hair led the way.
You don't much resemble a rock troll,
said the Queen, eyeing the slender stranger skeptically.
but go on, do try.
The fair-haired lass crouched beside the stone, closed her eyes, and began to whisper. Horses wheeled and tugged at their reins. A hound howled in the distance. And then, the boulder rolled to the side like an apple across the deck of a boat rocked by seas.
Who are you? Do tell.
A druid.
Came her calm response.
This stone. It stood in our circle.
The woman silently turned toward the wood. Meve followed her gaze, and among the trees saw other large stones, cracked and scorched.
What happened here?
We refused the Nilfgaardians' aid,
Answered the druid.
so they razed our shrines. Though, perhaps it's a blessing.
A blessing? How so?
A darkness fell upon Angren a time past, and it grows. The forest turns savage, its creatures drunk on blood. Folk have come to worship other cruel gods. It's time we abandoned this land forsaken and went south, to Kedmerkvid.
You've a long road ahead.
Said the Queen.
I shan't keep you. Safe travels to you and your friends.
The druids bowed low, then turned towards the trees. Meve gaped in disbelief as the tangled thickets creaked and parted to grant them passage.
Our path leads south too, though not as far.
Said the Queen.
Do join us. Given the times, there's safety in numbers.
The druids agreed, and were grateful. They walked at the rear of the column, muttering prayers, their faces concealed beneath hoods. Sensing a limp in her mount's gait, Meve ordered the column to halt. There was a thorn in her mare's hoof, burrowing deeper with every step. The horse whinnied and pulled her leg away, but Meve knew how to calm her. She stroked the mare's cheek, whispered slow words in her ear. She then extracted the thorn without difficulty.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Said the druid from behind Meve's back.
yet this is where our paths diverge. We've a modest gift to thank you for the road shared, and for your aid at the obelisk to the marsh gods.
Meve wished to respond, but the druids had turned toward the woods, their satchels slung over their shoulders. The Queen waited till they were out of sight to open the bundle. Their gift was by no means modest.
Here we must part.
Began the druid, waking Meve from deep thought.
We wish you good fortune, your majesty, and give thanks for the road shared with this modest gift.
As the druids turned and walked away, the Lyrians' horses, unbidden, stepped back and bowed their heads. Meve gazed long after the travellers, and only then opened the bundle. The gift was indeed quite modest. The cavalry rode at the head of the column, the Queen amongst them, speaking with her scouts. Suddenly she heard a cry. It seemed a command, and indeed all the horses reared, throwing off their riders. Then, in a frenzy, they galloped into the woods. Meve too was cast off, and landed with a thud at her ribs. As she struggled to rise, her eyes met those of the fair-haired druid.
One who feeds the marsh gods the blood of animals
The druid yelled furiously.
is unworthy of beasts, deserves not their aid. Let this be a lesson to you, cruel queen!
It took Meve some time to gather her wits. Then she sent a unit in pursuit. The soldiers returned empty-handed, having found neither druids nor mounts. The forest had slowed the men's progress, roots binding their legs, obscuring footprints. There was naught the Queen could do but bite her lip and hiss a curse.
The trees no longer wish us here. They call for someone else. This land is sick, defiled by a parasite that grows hungrier each day. Corruption flows from Isgith. It's there an evil lurks.